Online Travel Talks, and today I am absolutely delighted to welcome Kurt Janson, who's a director from the Tourism Alliance and a fellow Kiwi, actually. So Kurt, tell us all about yourself and the Tourism Alliance, and welcome, by the way.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to your members. Yes, I come from New Zealand, and I used to work for the New Zealand Tourist Board over there. And just over 20 years ago now, I came over to the UK and started working for Visit Britain. So kind of worked in a number of roles there, ending up being their head of strategy and policy and business planning. Basically anything that wasn't comms or marketing, they kind of threw at me and said, deal with this. So from there, about 15 years ago, I left and started running the Tourism Alliance, which is an umbrella trade association for the tourism industry. So our members have to be trade associations or other types of membership body. And the idea is because it's such a diverse industry, tourism, that there are inbound, outbound, domestic, attractions, accommodation, transport operators. So the possibility of everyone giving different messages to government kind of caused confusion. And so the government said, can you sort yourselves out so you've got a single voice? And so the Tourism Alliance was formed, and we pulled together 65 different trade associations and membership bodies, getting everyone to agree on the issues and how government should resolve them, so that when I speak to government and also all the other trade associations, we're all saying similar things, so the government has confidence that on what it needs to do to help and support the industry going forward.
Wow, you really are the most important association, and that you've brought together all the other associations. And of course, we do need one voice, but that must be fascinating because you're seeing the industry from all of its different perspectives and then trying to align all the aims and all the people together in order to have one voice to the government.
It's like being the chief cat herder. But it works in everyone's favor because all the different other associations know that when they're briefing ministers or MPs, that other trade associations are telling them the same thing.
Yes.
And that no one's kind of briefing against them, saying, oh, you don't listen to the outbound side, just listen to the domestic side. All those kind of fractures that could appear in the industry. So the more that we can be talking to government, telling them the same messages, the more confidence they have in them and the more likely they are to do something that would help and support the industry.
Wow, that's absolutely brilliant. And in a pandemic, you've been absolutely essential. And it's been quite hard, I think, because the government has been really looking at more domestic issues and really everything kind of inbound rather than outbound, trying to almost prevent people going away because we've had to shut our borders and so on. So to try and help all aspects of the industry equally and as well as you can, while they were all crying, must have been such a tough time to sort of bring that together. I mean, I really commend you on taking on that task or remaining in that chair whilst doing it, which I understand is actually from home. You've had your power seat sitting at home for the last 2 years, you were just telling me a moment ago.
Yes, I've been kind of stuck inside now for basically 2 years, which has been interesting in a one-bedroom flat. But I'm in central London, and obviously be able to look out the window here because I'm in the city itself, so you can get kind of the temperature of what's happening with businesses in London and employees coming back or not coming back to work. So it's very good here to be able to gauge what's happening and therefore have an understanding of what's happening to tourism businesses in London. So especially, the pubs, the restaurants, the attractions that people go to after they finish work.
Yes, because I think there seems to be so far a sort of a slow kind of take up to get back into offices, and we've got a sort of more of a hybrid working from home, a bit in the office happening, which is either going to stick and will continue that way or may change again. What's your view on that?
Yeah, it's very difficult. London is a really quite a special example because it's had a triple whammy, if you like, from COVID, insofar as overseas visitors haven't been coming in because we've had very little in the way of international travel. The domestic market is really kind of people in cities in the UK going to rural and seaside areas. You know, there's not too many city breaks that people do. And especially in London, if families want to kind of say bring their kids into the British Museum or the Natural History Museum, it's very difficult to do that without taking public transport. And so, you know, parents have been very unwilling to, you know, get on public transport with their children. So domestic tourism's taken a big hit. And then obviously with everyone working from home, you know, the industry here kind of requires people to come in to work, to go to the pubs, restaurants, as I said, and go to, you know, various shows and activities after work. So you're not getting the overseas visitors, you're not getting the domestic visitors, and people aren't coming in to work. And so, you know, tourism businesses in London are kind of very much still on their knees at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Until I think the recovery really does get underway. I mean, more borders are, well, I think most borders seem to be opening up or have opened. I mean, even the tricky border of Australia, that announcement was welcomed by many just because it has been very much sealed up as a border. And I think Asia's looking at them closely as well, seeing how Australia goes. And I think if that goes quite well, then they might also start to open up more, have more confidence. So it's almost gaining confidence around the world, isn't it? In their borders as much as it is in our own recovery.
Yeah, confidence is a huge thing, especially because, you know, Britain being an island, you have to really get here by air.
Yeah.
So the openness of borders and the rules and restrictions that apply to travel in and out of the country are hugely important in a way that if you're traveling between countries in Europe, it's not so much of an issue. So what we need, well, we've had a period where the government has changed the rules and restrictions quite regularly. And that really does impact people's confidence in being able to book a trip here or book a trip overseas from the UK and know that between the time that you book and the time that you take your travel, things won't change. You find yourself having to go into quarantine when you come back because the quarantine charges have been, you know, very high, or the vaccination requirements don't change over that period. So because it's changed so much and it's led to a lot of confusion, you know, we need a period of stability and calm with a common set of rules that continue for some period so people have that confidence to undertake bookings.
Absolutely. And I hope that message is loud and clear over to the Houses of Parliament there. I mean, literally, you are pretty much the voice of the industry. How much do you think they are kind of listening to that message that we do need a period of calm? I know it's not always possible, and variants and medical people and so on, but insofar as you can tell how they're feeling right now, what do you think?
Yeah, they understand the argument and accept that, you know, the industry needs that surety of what's going to happen in the future. But obviously, you know, no one knows quite what's going to happen, and so it is open to change at reasonably short notice, and we kind of accept that. But one of the problems is that although the government has said it's going to follow the science, really, at the end of the day, there is a large community of people in the UK who are incredibly nervous about people coming into the country and, you know, bringing in new strains of the disease. And so if it comes down to a decision between kind of causing pain to an industry and kind of appeasing public opinion about what should happen in the way of COVID controls, they've tended to side with kind of what the public think rather than the science.
Yes, yeah, that has been how it is. I think, though, the latest wave being weaker than predicted, and the vaccinations essentially being tested and kind of holding up in their testing gives cause for optimism. But maybe it's just because I'm always a glass half full girl anyway. But that's the whole point, isn't it? That these vaccinations are supposed to, help us stay out of hospital, let's say. And of course, the prophylactics now on cure, and if you have got it, I think they're getting better and better. So, wouldn't you say that we've we've almost there getting over the hump of it? Would you reckon?
I would love to say that, and I hope vehemently that it's true. Yeah, and it seems to be the way that things are going at the moment. But there's always that chance that there could be something just around the corner that kind of no one's expected, a new mutation which causes a total rethink again. But touch wood, the travel of direction, or the direction of travel at the moment, is really good, and providing a bit of optimism in an industry that's had very little optimism over the last 2 years.
Indeed. So apart from obviously the government just now sticking there and not really changing anything else, is there anything else that you're lobbying or sort of suggesting to the government to help either the travel industry or help our sort of situation?
Yes. Yeah, certainly.
This is the word.
The government came out with a recovery plan for the UK just over 6 months ago now, and it set 2 goals. One was to recover domestic tourism to pre-pandemic levels by the end of 2022, and the other was to return inbound tourism to the UK to pre-COVID levels by the end of 2023. And we've been really supportive of that. However, the only things that were in the recovery plan to support these targets were £10 million of vouchers to go to visitor attractions and a new domestic rail pass. Now, the tourism industry... the UK tourism industry as a whole has lost about £179 billion of revenue over the last 2 years. And if you think about it, it's a mind-boggling amount.
You said billion, not million, billion.
Billion, yeah. So domestic tourism businesses have lost £95 billion. Inbound tourism has lost about £44 billion, and outbound tourism has lost about £40 billion. That £40 billion is just the loss of revenue that's retained in the UK. So that's not what people actually spend overseas. That's just the component that people spend, getting to the airport and duty free, parking their car, staying at a hotel before they get on the plane. Just that is a £40 billion loss, which is enormous. Yeah. So the government has, in all the support schemes, it estimates that it's given the industry about £37 billion in support, which is great. But when you put £37 billion up against the £179 billion revenue loss, you can understand that businesses are in an incredibly fragile place, and that we need more than a few vouchers for attractions and a network rail pass to actually boost things. So we've been on to government to do a number of things to support kind of international tourism and working in and out of the UK, kind of boosting demand. So obviously, more and bigger marketing campaigns. Every other country in the world is out there. They've taken huge hits to their tourism industries as well. So it is going to be it is an incredibly difficult market this year, because everyone is out there with increased budgets trying to say, come and visit us, help us rebuild our industry. And as yet, the government hasn't allocated any more money for overseas marketing, which is quite incredible. So we need that. We're also talking to the government about fixing problems with the visa system. So having low-cost 5-year visas to encourage not just people to come over, but multiple trips in quick succession. Because if you're paying for a 5-year visa, why not make the most of it and do multiple trips? student travel, we've got large problems with students coming over on school trips or English language trips from Europe, because the government's decided that school kids can't come over on national ID cards and they need to have full passports.
Oh yes, we've got the whole Brexit thing, haven't we, as well?
Yeah, exactly. So that's caused real problems. So trying to sort that out with government, and then trying to make the visa system kind of a bit more smart, in so far as at the moment we have a system where you're either a visa national country like China or India, or you're a non-visa national country like New Zealand and Australia. And that's kind of fine, but you look at the economies of China and India, you have a huge middle class there, and kind of some very wealthy people. So why are we making them kind of apply for a visa when they're not going to be economic refugees in the UK, and most of them are coming over for business? So why not have a more sophisticated visa scheme? So you've got something like an ETA, where you fill it in online. If you make certain criteria, then just come over to the UK. If you're a little bit more, well, you don't seem to have a way of supporting yourself, then you apply for a full visa. So being a little bit more sophisticated in how we look at people from developing markets and fast-track visitors who are obviously going to just come over here for a holiday or take part in some business transaction. Yeah,
it's fascinating. I mean, there are so many things to talk to you about. I think I might have to have you back on another podcast, actually, on Online Travel Talks. But what comes to mind now is, of course, the industry has just been hanging on by its fingernails in many respects, and has lost a lot of staff to outside of the industry, or in fact, a lot of our people came from Europe and went back home. There's been quite a lot of a brain drain in America. They call it the Great Resignation as well, where people have sort of looked at their lifestyles. Some have early retired, some want to work part-time instead of full-time. So we've got a lot of recruitment and training today. Obviously, OECT can help with the training, but the recruitment aspect of it is quite immense. What are your thoughts? Because visas also translate into working visas, and we need to get people into the industry pretty fast as the recovery starts to speed up.
Yeah, it's a huge problem right across the industry, for the reasons that you said. A large number of workers were from the EU, some of which have gone back home as businesses closed down. There's no point in being here. Brexit's probably kind of tarnished the image of the UK for some of them as well. But there's people who've just when tourism businesses closed down, they've migrated to other sources of employment, and now they're gainfully employed there and obviously not going to come back. And obviously people who've decided, there's other things in life than working, and it's made people reevaluate kind of what's important to them, and so they've taken early retirement, or taken a kind of a downgrade in kind of what work they do, so that they have a better work-life balance. So it's kind of a perfect storm for in all these things happening at the same time, for an industry that is incredibly reliant on its staff to provide world-class service to keep things rolling. So I don't think there is a kind of a silver bullet which is going to solve this issue, because there are so many components of it. But we're working on different things with government. There's a hospitality skills council that's been established, and we're putting together a recruitment campaign to encourage more young people into the industry. We've kind of got a working group at the moment to push government to open up a youth mobility scheme with with the EU, so we can get kind of young talent over from the EU to fill these positions, because under the points-based scheme, very few of the people that we need in the industry would qualify either in terms of income or for qualifications that are needed to fill these jobs. Sorry, can you hear that? I think might have it out this, but we've just got a Chinook flying over us.
I can't hear it, but wow, that sounds exciting. And the fact that you know it's a Chinook, like name that airplane or whatever.
We're in the Barbican, and
okay.
the Honourable Artillery Company is kind of just behind us.
Amazing.
And every now and again they land a Chinook in the Honourable Artillery Company, and it comes past and almost rattles the windows here.
Fabulous. I can imagine it. Shame we can't see it.
Yeah.
But anyway, brilliant.
Sorry, I don't know how much that came across, but I couldn't hear myself talk when it came.
Yeah, no, I could hear you quite well, but you never know in the recording back, we'll see. But yeah, ultimately, so recruitment is something that you're no doubt talking to the government about as well, in terms of working visas and, as you say, trying to relax the salary levels, because I think they set them quite high to begin with, didn't they, in terms of the visas you could get. And
there has been some relaxation of the salary levels, kind of down to about 22,000, but it's still kind of a very difficult situation. It's not helped because obviously the government that we've got in, came in on the back of getting Brexit done and having a points-based immigration system. So having conversations which say you need to relax that, don't go very far. So I think we've got to be kind of slightly more creative about the solutions that fit with government policy in regarding people coming into the country, but kind of work for the industry and be able to recruit. We pushed in the past for example, the youth mobility scheme, having that in a way that provides kind of tens of thousands of people being able to come over from Europe, but also being able to stay longer, because at the moment you can stay for 2 years up to the age of 31, and we did suggest kind of 4 years before you're 35 or 34 to make it rhyme. But if you're able to get people coming over for you on the youth mobility scheme to stay here for 4 years, it would give employers the opportunity to recruit them, to train them up, to get them over the threshold level so that they then could apply for them to stay here. And if they didn't, they could only stay 4 years, which is under the 5-year minimum you need to apply to stay.
Yeah, sounds a lot more sensible, because there is a cost to training and an investment, and you don't want that turnover. You want to sort of really work with a good team. So we've talked a lot about inbound. A lot of our viewers will actually be managing outbound travel. Do you see any trends there? Do you see what kind of recovery we can expect moving forward on the outbound market?
Yeah, it's interesting. British people love to travel, and although they're a bit tentative about it, mainly because of government rules, I can see it bouncing back. And of course, what we're seeing at the moment is this huge amount of pent-up demand by people who have been desperate to go overseas and sit on a beach somewhere for the last 2 years. And so there's a surge of bookings going through the system. What we're slightly unclear about is whether that surge will be sustained, or it's just a cohort of people who are kind of are not risk averse, very happy to travel, and once they've kind of gone through the system, whether other people will be following them. Because what we've noticed in kind of various waves of lockdown and reopening, that you get this sudden surge of bookings when you come out of a lockdown, but then it dies away pretty quickly, because that's not the majority view. It's just kind of people who have a great tolerance of risk, kind of desperate to get out.
The most desperate in a way, which again, I think when we've got a nice sort of, and only time can heal, and that's an expression, even once we've got a clear sort of runway of no changes from the government, and everyone starts to feel more sure-footed and confident, then I think we will be starting to plan, or the more wider population will start to sort of plan a bit more, I think. On the holiday front.
I mean, what is kind of interesting, and will be kind of interesting to see how it it plays out is that tourism demand, especially kind of outbound, has been driven by people over the age of 50 from the UK.
Oh,
so they've got their own home, house prices have gone up, share prices have gone up. A large number of them have good pensions that they kind of joined up years ago. So they're pretty wealthy, and they've been driving tourism and outbound tourism in the UK. Now, the younger cohorts have had the real problem of they're coming out of university with high university loans, up to 30, 50,000 pounds. They're coming into a housing market where they look at house prices and say, we're going to have to save for years to do this. And it's been a stagnant kind of wage market in the UK for the last kind of almost decade now. So the people who want to travel the most and are kind of very risk averse tend to be the younger ones.
How funny. Yeah.
But they're the ones that kind of are under pressure. And of course, with the cost of living, squeeze and inflation being as it is at the moment, they're going to be kind of ones that are very much impacted on that and have kind of low levels of discretionary expenditure.
I think also, though, that they might take advantage of this work from anywhere, so that they might start sort of upping sticks. And if I was young, I think, where's it warm right now? Off I go, log in. It could be a whole kind of interesting shift of work where you want to work wherever you are in the world. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there are ones that have very good skill sets, and they can travel, they can work from where they want, but there's a lot of average people who get told where they're going to work and how they're going to work. So you've got those ones who are very keen, but are going to suffer from kind of inflation, disposable income squeeze. And then you've got the 50 plus who do have the disposable income, but are more risk averse when it comes to travel, and will take a lot more encouragement to get kind of going back overseas again, because they've been told all the way through this that the older you are, the more susceptible you are to COVID, and the more dangerous it is. So giving them the confidence to go back out and spend money is going to be key to the recovery, for outbound tourism.
God, there is just so much to it all, isn't there? And it's been absolutely fascinating talking to you, Kurt. Honestly, I think definitely we need to check back in with you during the course of the recovery during this year, just for your thoughts and what's going on with government and with your different branches of associations. And I'd love if you would, send us some, key sort of articles for our blog. We have a blog on OTT. We'd love to sort of feature you there so people can kind of keep in touch with what's happening. In a way, I wish it was a webinar, because I'm sure we then have some questions. But we'd probably be here another half an hour just to get through all of the questions, because it's been that interesting. But for now, unfortunately, I think we have run out of time. But absolutely would love to have you back if you're able. And, you must be such a busy man trying to look after 60 different associations, all with a view, and all from all of their members' views distilled into one big massive travel industry kind of plan. Wow, what a fantastic opportunity and an amazing mission you're on, actually, Kurt. Would you come back?
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be an absolute pleasure.
On the spot there, but it would be great to have you back. But in the meantime, or for now anyway, thank you so much for your time today, for all of your pearls of wisdom, and I wish you every bit of luck in talking to the government, making sure they try and not rock the boat if they can. And just remember, the industry is, needs any help it can get from government purses to get its recovery underway and to keep people in jobs and sustained. So, appreciate all you do, Kurt. Thank you. Well done from me.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot then. Bye, Kurt.
Take care.
Bye.